I'm Danny Flexen.
This is Joe Leigh.
We're here for the latest edition of Who You Backing, our weekly draft style competition. You can no longer vote, but you can tell us how you feel with your comments.
Yeah.
And we are this week going to compare boxing's biggest current attractions. So the fighters out there who people pay to watch, the needle movers, the ones who generate the biggest live gates and the best television viewing figures. And we always have a trivia question, and if the person gets it right, they get the first pick. If they get it wrong, they cede that to their opponent.
Right.
And I have the question, an appropriate one, given what we're talking about,
Yeah.
for Joe. And this is the question. In 1923, heavyweight legend Jack Dempsey fought Tommy Gibbons in a fight that was predicted to be a huge attraction. However, it wasn't. Only just under 8,000 fans turned up to a particular town in the US. And because of this and all the money that had been invested in the fight, it actually bankrupted the town in question. Now, I'm going to tell you the name of the town. So all you need to do is tell me which state it is in, because I thought if I asked you the town, it'd be too difficult.
Yeah.
So they bankrupted Gibbons and Dempsey, or the fight itself, bankrupted the town of Shelby.
Yeah.
Which US state is Shelby in?
Oh, this is testing me. Okay. Is Mississippi a state?
It is a state.
Yeah. Go on then, Kentucky. I'll have Kentucky.
Unfortunately not. You were closer
No.
with the first one. Well, maybe not geographically, but you were closer with your first
Yeah.
initial. It's one of the M states. It's Montana. Shelby, Montana, bankrupted by Jack Dempsey, Tommy Gibbons. I'm sure they've recovered now.
That's got to be the hardest trivia question of the lot.
I just wanted something appropriate to the topic.
Yeah. I would have done like the highest attendance in history. It was
Chavez
Caesar. Yeah.
Stadio Azteca in Mexico City. So I would have got it right. So either way, I would have got the first pick.
I guess, yeah.
Chavez is my favourite fighter of all time, so there's nothing that you wouldn't have got me with that one, unfortunately for you.
True.
But anyway, first pick goes to me. I'm going to pick the biggest attraction in boxing right now. And sorry, Eddie Hearn, it's not who you might think it is. It is the Mexican superstar, Canelo Alvarez. Regularly fills up big venues in places where the tickets are probably a bit more expensive than the ones Joshua shifts. No disrespect to him, at Wembley Stadium and the Millennium. Different states as well. America's a massive country, of course. And Canelo has proved popular from Las Vegas to Texas, pretty much wherever he's fought. But not only that, he's a proven pay-per-view commodity. Someone who's reliable, even in the current climate. I'll say this, let's see what happens on September the 12th. But reliable generally in the current climate to deliver big viewing figures, even against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in a fight most people consider to be a mismatch. He still drew over 1 million pay-per-view buyers, and has obviously done a lot more than that in his bigger fights with Golovkin and Mayweather and so on. Just hugely popular, and everyone, and this is the difference, I think, between him and some of the other fighters, no matter which country you go to, boxing fans know who Canelo is. God, he's known by one name. You know, he's Seal, he's Madonna, he's Cher, he's Lovin, he's Canelo. You don't even need a surname. Don't even need a set of initials, AJ. You know, he's not CA, he's Canelo. We all know who he is. He generates the most money. If he was to leave Golden Boy tomorrow, he'd be the most sought-after free agent we've seen in boxing for a hell of a long time. So he's my number one pick with a bullet.
Yeah, and moving over to my number one pick, it's hard to compete with that, but obviously with what Tyson Fury's done, I know people might have thought I'd pick AJ. This is no disrespect, but AJ can't do what Fury does in America. Fury's obviously Cinco de Mayo. He puts on a show for the Americans, and he's actually won in America multiple times. Obviously with AJ, if you go to another country and you lose your first fight, they almost remember you for that now, because that's when he came to your city. Obviously with Fury, he's won there multiple times now. He's fought Wilder there, won arguably twice. And they know him a lot more as a pay-per-view star in England and in America, whereas AJ, he's been to America and it didn't work out for him, so there's still a bit to be worked on. So for me, Fury, without a doubt, is number two.
Well, I can't believe I've got Canelo and AJ in my first two picks. I've got to be happy with that. Anthony Joshua filling up huge stadia in the UK in a way we haven't seen anyone do, except maybe Cole Froch in that particular fight against George Groves rematch. Just fills up Wembley, fills up the Millennium Stadium. He's become synonymous with boxing as a sport in the UK in the same way, I guess, that the whole Eddie Hearn Sky Sports matching machine has helped him do. And anyone that knows boxing will know AJ. The vast majority will know Fury now as well. I accept that. But I just think AJ's got the more proven track record of filling large venues and generating figures on pay-per-view, particularly in the UK. I admit
that is true.
He's not as big a name in the US as Fury, but worldwide, would more people have heard of AJ in the Middle East, in Africa, and places like that? I would think so, and I think that could be exploited commercially in the future as well. But as of right now, I would say in terms of the heavyweights attractions, it's AJ first, Fury a close second.
Yeah, that's a tough one to pick between. I've obviously gone with Fury, and for my number 2 pick, I'm going to go with Pacquiao. Obviously, he's been around for so long, but he still generates so much money. The guy like Keith, like everyone in his division right now wants him. Crawford said he wants him. Thurman wants him again because he's the big money fight. He's the Canelo or the I guess you could say the AJ of that division because he generates the money. And he's over 40 now, and he's still getting the racks in from all kinds of fighters in all kinds of countries. He's still known worldwide, and like you said with AJ a minute ago, if you say Pacquiao to my nan walking down the street, she's probably going to know him. So he has to be there in the top 6.
What if she wasn't walking down the street? What if she was just sitting down at home?
Even if I called her and she was making some dinner, like she's going to know who he is.
Fair enough. See, now it gets difficult because they're the standout 4 in my view, and I think after that you've got either fighters that fill stadiums or arenas, and then you've got fighters that move the needle on TV. But there isn't necessarily anyone that comes to mind that can do both consistently. So I am going to go for, just because of what he does broadcasting wise, and also because of the amount of coverage he gets, not always. Very rarely for the right reasons, but it's Adrian Broner. I'm going to pretend that his whole, retirement never happened, because I'm sure he'll pretend that very soon. He's demanded $10 million to come back to boxing. He won't get that, but the fact that he can even demand it with any realistic kind of ambition of it being a negotiating starting point tells you what you need to know. For all the criticism he gets, he's a 4-weight world champion. He's achieved that, pretty quickly in his career, albeit against, average to good opposition. He's not beaten an elite opponent yet. When he has stepped up, he's usually been beaten. He's often competed outside his natural weight class. I don't think he should be anywhere near welterweight. I think super lightweight maximum for him. And he's obviously not always been the most disciplined outside the ring. He's got into loads of trouble and everything else. But that's all added to his notoriety, and he gets a lot more coverage and mainstream coverage, the likes of, TMZ and mainstream news outlets covering him as much as, if not more so, than the boxing press. And that level of infamy, if you like, has translated when he's been on TV, not just on pay-per-view, where he's been a fairly reliable performer, but also he's on subscription TV in the States as well. He's delivered good viewing figures for the likes of Showtime several times. So I think you have to give him some level of credit. He's created this persona. I say he's created a persona. It's probably almost exactly the same as the real Adrian Broner, but fair play to him. He's done.
He is.
I think people will still be interested in getting him. People still call him out on a regular basis, even though they know the money he's asking for, because A, it's a winnable fight for a lot of elite fighters out there, but B, they're going to make money against him, and he's fought some top fighters for that very reason.
Yeah. You've got a good third pick there, and it's an interesting one for me for my third pick as well, because I don't think you could say this guy. I don't think if you ask most casuals, they might not even know who he is. But it's unfortunate, because I should really be saying Deontay Wilder as my third pick, but I'm not, because arguably the English media have covered it quite a lot. He should be bigger than he is. Obviously, with the Fury fights happening, he's bigger than he was, but he should be a bigger star in America than he is. So I'm not going to pick Wilder, and I think. I'm not sure if this is a correctly judged decision, but I'm going to go with Errol Spence. Obviously, with what's happened with the crash, he's had a bit more exposure there. He's an outspoken guy. He's a fantastic fighter, of course, which always helps. if he fights Crawford, I think that number certainly goes up in terms of his pay-per-view buys, his live gates. And it's sort of a difficult third pick. It's certainly not one that is going to go down as wrong, because I think he's got a lot of growing to do. But right now as well, he's definitely in the top 10, and I've managed to squeeze him into the top 6. So there we go.
It's a weird one because he's a relatively big attraction on TV and stuff, whereas
Definitely in America.
Crawford obviously fills arenas in his hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was probably the hardest pick, I guess, for you as well. Mm-hmm. You got Lomachenko, you've got Golovkin, who's doing well on the East.
Lomachenko's big in the UK now. Like the fact that he sold out the O2, like
Golovkin, and Brook did really well commercially as well.
Exactly. There's a lot of other names. I think Lama was probably the one I would have picked if you had Spence third. But
Inoue as an emerging kind of attraction in the US, having already done really well commercially in Japan.
No, I agree with that. Maybe the weight he's at, it's harder to become a big star worldwide. But no, that's certainly a decent shout as well.
All right, well, that's what we think. We need to know what you guys think. Who would you have put in that we haven't picked in our combined top 6? But most importantly, who won the draft? So, Joe, recap your 3 picks.
Tyson Fury. I had Spence and Pacquiao.
So I've got Canelo Alvarez, or just Canelo because he only needs one name. Anthony Joshua, who only needs his initials. And Adrian Broner, another one who only needs his initials. AB, about billions. Maybe he's who's won me the draft. We'll see.
Yes,
let us know what you think. Who's got the better trio of major attractions? Not better fighters, better needle movers, attractions. Yeah. Let us know who wins that. We'll see you next week for the next Who You Back In. And we'll look forward to that.
See ya.